We're back, this time with VOX amplifiers. So we've done the Fender tier list already. I'll put a link in the description below for that. Marshall will be coming up, so subscribe. Make sure you catch that. But yeah, we're going to dive into VOX. Now, all these amplifiers I have owned or have fairly extensive experience with, and a lot of these you will have seen on the channel. And there's going to be some nuances to these that's going to be different than the Fender. With that being said, let's go through the rubric real quick, just like last time. You got S tier at the very top. That's the best of the best, the holy grail as far as I'm concerned. Then you got amazing, then you got very good, and then you got solid, and then you got meh, it's just fine, not for me, and then F tier. So pretty straightforward. Let's dive in, and we've got all of these loaded up in random order. So we'll start with the AC4 C1. I'm going to put this in not for me right off the rip. Now, just quick note, that we're not only going to be organizing everything from S tier to F tier, but also within each category. So the leftmost amplifier will be the best in that category. So they'll be kind of ranked in two different dimensions there. So we'll have to reorganize it as we get going. AC4 C1, it's a small amp. It's kind of a toy. Got a little heat for saying that about the 5F1 Champ in the Fender video. This sits in a very similar place to me, though 5F1 probably sounds better. The AC4 C1, a couple $100 used probably. Cabinet's not great, tone's not great. So to be charitable, not for me. I don't think it's quite F tier though. Let's see, AC10 C1. Let's see, so this is an amplifier that's kind of interesting for me because, I'll scroll down a little bit so you guys can see the amps coming up. So I owned this exact AC10 C1 for a long time in that kind of fawn covering, and that amp really impressed me. So much so, you know, I had upgraded all these crazy amps and just kind of sat around for years. I got all these vintage VOX amplifiers behind me I've been using, and I had this sitting in the garage, and I was like, I need to get rid of this thing. So I listed it for sale, and I plugged into it just to make sure it still worked, and I was blown away by how good this thing sounded. It punches so far above its weight class. It's tiny, it's portable, doesn't weigh much, and yeah, the sound is just really impressive from them. That being said, it's not that great in context to something great, but I think it just surprised me by how good it was for what it is. As a first tube amp, it's really good. It doesn't have much headroom, but it's got just kind of a really great grind tone to it, and really no cleans to speak of, especially with humbuckers. Excuse me. So yeah, I'm going to go in meh category for now. Definitely better than the AC4. Instant S tier for the AC10 SRT. This is one of the best amps ever made in my opinion. And yeah, it's so good. You guys have seen it on the channel. If you don't know what this is, very rare amp. VOX only made them for a short period in the mid 60s. And my personal one is a domino variation, which is the same chassis as a trapezoid version, just in a different cabinet. And if you guys have seen the Doug and Pat show on YouTube, then you'll be familiar with this model at least somewhat. So it's very unique. It's got a lot of extra gain stages. You can goose it up by changing the preamp tubes, and you can play with it. It's got built-in reverb, built-in tremolo, and it just sounds incredible. Easily one of the best sounding amps I've ever heard, and I'm very lucky to own it. I spent years looking for one actually. And it's kind of funny. Every time somebody plays it, they go, that's one of the best amps I've ever heard. Even next to the holy grails of holy grails, which we'll get into in a second. You know, I had a buddy not too long ago pick up a holy grail AC30 from me that, in fact, it's on this list I'll talk about in a second. It's coming up in a couple. And we played it, and we also played my AC10 SRT, and he said that was the best amp in the room. That was the best sounding amp. So just goes to show they're very, very special, and if you can find one, grab it. Very good. Amplug AC30. I don't know if you guys have seen these. They've got different versions, different kind of amps and stuff you can do. F tier, they're absolutely terrible. I don't think I need to say anymore. AC30 integrated top boost. This is also S tier. That's the amp I was referencing. Even rarer than the SRT probably. No, for sure. Basically, if you don't know the background of vintage VOX amplifiers, probably know the top boost. You've heard that name before if you're somewhat familiar with VOX amps. So originally the top boost circuit was an add-on. So they literally would cut out a hole in the back of the back panel, and then that's where you would be able to access a bass and treble knob mounted to a metal L bracket. It's like a homebrew kit add-on, and that would give you additional gain and more tonal flexibility. So the integrated top boost copper top, the copper top was kind of the first Vox amplifiers. The first were the black top. Then it became copper top, and those were phased out in 64. The top boost was integrated into the panel, meaning it wasn't an add-on card anymore. It was now part of the panel, just like you see in later Vox amplifiers. For only a short period in 64, they only made 100 of them, something like that. I don't remember the exact number. So incredibly rare, incredibly cool, kind of the creme de la creme of vintage Vox amps. And for that reason, it's got to be an S tier. AC10 C1. This is probably going to go either in meh or solid. Put in meh for now. Actually, pretty decent amplifiers. I hate the build of them. They are so heavy for these small little 112 combos. The cabinets just weigh an unreasonable amount for what they are. And they do sound pretty good. Yeah, borderline solid. I think we'll put in solid for now, but it might drop down to meh, depending on what the others come up with. Okay. AC36 TB. So this is the 90s version. These have a massive cult following to them, really popular in the praise and worship scene. And they were used for a long time on a lot of famous songs. And they were kind of phased out over time with boutique versions. But a lot of people still hang on to them. And yeah, it's a very good amp, I would say. Does not sound like a vintage Vox AC30, but it has its own thing going for it. So we'll go very good. AC10 Twin 1963. I've got both AC10s in here. And it's probably an amazing, yeah. So I'll just jump to the other AC10. Where is it? Over down here. So these are the same amp. Basically, the circuit's identical except for a little difference in the power section with the choke and another resistor in one of them that's not in the other. So the only real difference is the 1963 versions, which my buddy owns. You guys have seen on the channel. It's a thin cabinet. So it's really thin walls. It's very sharp looking, more angular, and doesn't have corner protectors, for example. Visually very cool, but physically very fragile. It's got a lot of play to it. It doesn't have a lot of play to it, but it's not structurally as solid as the later 64 version. So yeah, I think I'm a little biased because I own the 64. That's my own personal amp. They're amazing amps, just ignoring the cabinet differences. I really, really like the AC10 Twin. To some people, they're a little dark, but I actually really like the warmer tone. I don't need this amp to be that chimey Vox thing. I have other amps for that. But yeah, really, really solid. EF86 on one channel, ECF82, which is a very interesting odd tube for the normal channel. It's just got a really unique tone to itself. 2x10 ELAC speakers. All of it is very interesting and unique. So I'm going to put the 64 version a little higher. Visually like the 63 more, but 64 I'd rather have just because it's more of a solid cabinet. AC15 handwired. This is probably a very good category, probably lower end of very good. They sound very good. They're good amps. They're hand-wired, which is nice. The fawn doesn't look anything like the vintage fawn, but they're cool. I think they're really cool amps. And I like the cabinet too. I like it better than the AC15 C1, the dimensions of it. AC30 C2. I'm going to say that's above the C1 AC15. One thing I'll say I really dislike about these amps is the copper top, is straight up like pink on these amps and really cheap looking. I cannot stand the look of the panels on those Vox amplifiers, those reissues. Not reissues, but those standard model ones. They just look really cheap. But the sound is good. They do not sound like a vintage Vox. There's some mods and stuff you can do to them to make them closer, but they're a good sounding amp. They're solid. AC30 Fawn, instant S tier. So this is a 1961 vintage original. This is either here or here. It's got to be the top. It's got to be the top. The Fawn is the coolest Vox amplifier ever made. AC30 is the coolest model, the best model in my opinion. So that's got to be up there. That one had the integrated top boost as well, or not integrated, had the add-on top boost card. which if it didn't have the top boost card, I'd probably rank it a little bit lower because I really think the top boost card is key for these amps. But yeah, that amp is just incredible. So that's got to go top of the line, S tier. Valvetronics VT50. That's got to go F tier. I don't know if you guys remember those. They've got the metal panel, like metal diamonds, grow cloth. They're the weirdest amps for VOX to make. They had one tube in them, if I remember correctly, like a 12AX7. The rest is like solid state modeling setup. It's got different model amps you can do. One of the modes is like new metal or something, if I remember correctly. And it's got a bunch of effects on it. They were just terrible. They were so bad. So yeah, we're going F tier on that. I'll even put it below the Amplug AC30 because that at least has some utility to it. The VT50 does not. AC1590s, so similar to the AC36 TB, but less so. They don't have as much of a cult following, but they're very good sounding amps. I'm going to go right here. I like it better than the C1, and it's borderline at the C2, but I think it's probably a good place. AC15 Heritage TV. So a lot of you probably might not even have heard of this amplifier. It's really cool. It's like a homage to, I believe it's an anniversary of VOX. And it's kind of, the aesthetic is like the very, very early AC15s, but it's a head and cab, and I'm always in favor of a head and cab. I would always prefer that over a combo for VOX amplifiers. So that's a very cool amp. It's going very good category, above the hand-wired. It's better, cooler than the hand-wired. It's got an EF86 channel, 12AX7 channel. It's a very raunchy sounding amp, not really any clean, very just punchy in your face. I'm trying to think. It had a kind of an interesting mode on it that was a little odd to me, but I can't remember what it was called. Has like some slider switches on it or something, but either way, aesthetically, 10 out of 10, uber cool, and hand-wired as well on those, if I remember correctly. AC30 Super Twin, ending strong, instant S tier. I'm going SRT above it. I'm going above the integrated top boost because that's cool, but I think a head and cab AC30 is even cooler. It's right over my shoulder here, a little biased, my own amp. And that one has the add-on top boost card as well. And I just think that's the coolest amp ever. Now, if you don't know, the Super Twin, and that black cabinet is also a Super Twin cabinet. Most of them were closed back, which is really unique on a VOX. Totally changes the sound. And the closed back panel is super thick, like shockingly thick. So they're very heavy, but it's just really a cool sound. I made the brown cabinet, the 64 cabinet, a open back, and the black cabinet is closed back. So it gives me two different flavors. But yeah, I think the Super Twin is one of the coolest amps ever. And I put it just below the SRT for S tier and below the fawn because you can't beat a fawn. Last but not least, we have the AC30 is 1963. Essentially the same as the other amplifiers. Top boost add-on card. I own this for a bit. It was on the channel for just a little bit, and I never ended up getting to work on it. I sold it before I could. I basically bought it as a backup for my Super Twin. The main difference in 63, part of 63, is they had that smooth Tolex, which is very cool, but it's very fragile, and I don't think that is as cool as the Super Twin, and it's probably... I think it has to be cooler. I think it would have to end up here above the AC10 Twins. A vintage AC30 from the early 60s. It's a better amp than the AC10 Twin, even though the AC10 Twin is very cool and very special. So let's go through and just quickly run through, make sure I have the order correct on all these. So S tier, Fawn, SRT, Super Twin, integrated top boost, locking that in. That's money across the board. Amazing category. We got the 63 AC30 and then the AC10 Twins. These two are interchangeable, like I said. I'm going this order just because I prefer that thicker cabinet a little bit more. Very good category. 6TB 90s, I do think is above the AC15 Heritage and AC15 hand-wired. You've got more headroom, and yeah, it's going to sound bigger. It's going to sound better in general. But the AC15s are very cool and very good. Solid AC15 90s. Yeah, I'd put it below the hand-wired. I'd put it below the Heritage. I put it... No, I think in general, I would go AC30 over AC15 no matter the model for the most part. So I'm going to do that here. AC30 C2 over the 90s AC15, which is over the C1. AC10 C1, again, great bang for the buck, but you have to call it meh, I think, in this list. Not for me. AC4 C1, yep, totally F tier, locked in. Okay, I'm happy with this. I think that came out pretty good. So now's the time for you to let me know where I messed up. So comment below, and if there are any other VOX amps, how would you rank them compared to what I did here? And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Stay tuned, subscribe for the Marshall tier list coming up. And then what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take my favorites, probably either the amazing in S tier or the very good to S tier from Fender, Marshall, and VOX, and then we're going to rank those against each other for a brand new tier list, kind of the best of the best. All for fun. Don't take it too personally. If one of these amps is yours and I ranked it lower than you think, let me know what you think in the comments regardless, and until next time, see ya.